All right, we lit. So we back. So you were saying pretty much the Jambalaya was where it was at. It was lit. Y'all did y'all 1-2 there. You and Gordon. So now, so that's you said that's roughly they've been doing what they do to Jambalaya people them since the 90s, roughly up until you said what 95, 96. Correct me if I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
like 90, 96.
Okay.
But
So
yeah,
now dancehall has kicked up, right? Dancehall has kicked up, and you know, a lot of the artists that's really driving this thing for the 90s, you know, you got the Ninja Mans, you got the Capletons, you got the Beanie Mans, the Bounty Killers, and the list goes on. Bogle, his iconic wave is trending and cementing its roots, you know, all over the globe. And things that are taking place in Jamaica that necessarily not all of Brooklyn is aware of is happening. And necessarily what's happening in Jamaica will start to now find its way into the States, specifically Brooklyn.
right.
So with dancehall kicking up and now um, you finding your way being more of the dancehall culture, what's going on now? What's the environment now? Now that you're grown, you found necessarily where you see yourself as a dancer. How are things kicking up now? Because you're necessarily a part of, you know, this new wave of dancehall really taking over the globe. And with dances like Bogle, like I said, paving the way. George Adams, aka Bruckup, kicking up and help and paving the way. Flavor Flav and so many great dancers from out of Jamaica. With their contribution to the earth, finding its way hitting Brooklyn like a comet. Where are you in all this going on now? Because again, you're one of those people that, as we get farther in the interview, that really, you know, shaped your own look, paved your own way, and necessarily connected dots in many different ways. So take us on this journey where you, as a now young teenager, and this and dancehall is taking over. So while hip hop is active, the Puff Daddies, the Makes, the Biggie Smalls, and all that on the other side is Bounty Killer, Beanie Man, and all that. What is this doing to you? And how are you navigating this thing now?
Well, also like with the hip hop going on, like Bogle put a big impact on the structure and the culture. Like it was Bogle and Patra.
Oh,
They was
facts. Big ups, Patra. Facts.
right. I don't hear nobody talk about. See, what's so crazy with the braids and all that? That was a major trend in the Bedstuy area. Like everybody wanted braids in the early 90s with the crones and the braids. So Patra brought that structure to the neighborhoods, to the people and all that. So that was a Bogle, definitely. Mr. Lava, all that was crazy. You saw Living Color. You saw what he made, you know what I mean, when he marked them. So that right there. So for Marlon Wayne and them to grasp it to that with that put the impact to the hood.
Oh, big ups.
You see
Oh,
what I'm saying?
just to add to it, big ups Shabba Ranks because it was Shabba
Right.
Ranks
You know
that
what I'm
they was
saying?
doing.
Like,
When Shabba was doing the Bogle, that's how
come on,
impactful the
that
dance was.
everybody, like I said, your grandmom's doing it. Ting-a-ling. Once you hear that, once you hear that, come on, your grandma's out there going crazy. Why she out there sitting? She's 60 bending over like that. So and it was a fun thing and it was a trend. I just saw man people get beat up on the block party when that stuff come on. And at that time it's like I said, it was a lot of big sets and sounds that was coming out at that moment. But what really set the tune for all that, like I said, those was a major impact. But like I said, when I was rolling with Gordon, back to from that situation from June Balloon, Yogi Bear was a big thing. So it's like, this one day Gordon was like, yo, he like I'm rolling with him, and he's like, yo, um, I got some other place we could go. It's way better than this.
Mm.
So he like, yo, have your $20, meet me on Halsey and Tompkins at 12 o'clock. So no, 11 o'clock, whatever. So boom, we linked up. He like, yo, we're gonna go to Empire. He said, "Yo,
Mm.
it's crazy there. All the girls there, and we gonna have fun." So at that time, like I said, he was like he was dancing, moving around, doing what he do. So we pop up at Empire. Boom. So we go there, whatever the case may be. You know, we sat there, Empire back then it was like 12 to 4:30. So, that was the major spot back in the days. Like
Oh, definitely.
Empire roller skate was crazy. So it's like, and you really had to get permission to go there. Like, you know how other places you could roam more, but you really had to get permission. So me and Gordon or whatever the case may be, at the same time, it's like when I'm going there, I'll start to see other kids that was kind of like in the mix of dancing. You feel what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Besides hip hop was a major thing, still booming. But then it's like, Empire, they have different times that they play certain music. So they only give back then, I hate Empire a little bit because they only gave the reggae music only 30 minutes. And they
Mm.
get like, so if you did a whole, like real talk, I was going to Empire just to, for the 30 minutes for the reggae. You know what I'm saying? Because when the reggae came on, it was crazy. So and then it was a major buzz, like it was a crew from Put Them 300 crew. Shout out to Rico and all of them. You know what I'm saying? They from over there. A lot of them, Man and all of them, they used to go, they used to go to Empire too. So we all used to link up sometimes. If we don't link up on Halsey and Tompkins, we used to link up on Putting Them in Nostrand. And we all roll out, go to Empire. So at that time, the reggae is picking up. You know what I'm saying? That's when you get the Mr. Vegas, like I said, Ninja Man and Sanchez, all that's booming. But the major, like, what I'm saying, the major people was like, Beanie Man, Bounty Killer, Mr. Vegas, Bougie Bonton, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, like the major hitters was those people that you was hearing.
Red
So
Rat, Sean Paul.
Red, oh come on. Like Red Rat that was one of my him and Ghost because of the voice.
Hmm.
Ghost is one of my top, between him and Bounty Killer, I love him. Ghost is my guy. You know what I'm saying? Lexus, I love him too. But anyway, back to what really made me really jump out there. Like I said, I was just running around with Gordon, and once we pulled up at Empire, it was other dancers, and that's how I ran across Tor.
Mm.
Yeah, I ran across Tor. It was so crazy. Like I kind of knew Tor before a lot of people. It's just that I know Tor was the person who he was. So him and Gordon, they kind of already had this relationship because
Definitely.
Gordon already was going to Empire, so he put me onto this. So it's like I'm watching him, and he told me like you think I'm a top dog. It's like it's other people out the area that's really that's attached to this dancing culture. So at that time, it's like, all right, cool. We pop up there, I see Tor, but I didn't know Tor was a dancer. So, I'm rolling with Gordon, we roller skating or whatever the case may be. So, back then, that's when the girls used to have the Averexes and all that came a little bit early, but it was just like more like Jordans was starting to pick up heavy. Because back then, 9.5s was a major thing. Like, feel what I'm saying? Like when they say 9.5s, Air Max 9.5s, you had a pair of those. It felt like you had a pair of Pradas on. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? So yeah, when them lime greens hit and them orange joints drop, and that was around that era. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, 95. Like, when you had those on, it was like because the 90s Air Maxes was crazy. But when the 9.5s dropped, it was like it was to another level. You had to have either the orange pair or the lime green pair. So
Mm.
a lot of the girls from Rockaway, they used to wear like like back then too, like whatever cruise was like, especially with the girls and the certain guys and stuff like that, like it was always like matching. So like as you start to go out your element, you start to see that from other communities, like like other people gathering and everybody want to look just alike and the spray pants and on stuff like that, the airbrush, which they I felt like that never went out of style too, like with the airbrush and your name all over your, the jacket and so a lot of that I was seeing. So, like I said, I was just rolling with Gordon. But when the reggae tunes came on, that's when the no 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 wait. When that came on, like I was already in tune that I need to jump into this because Gordon was telling me we over there sitting on the we sitting there waiting for the L train, and Gordon was like, "Yo, if you don't murder this, like." he gonna murder me. So I'm like, what you mean by that? So I guess it was like a representing situation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we coming from the style. So Empire was like a major thing before, like, it really, really, like, I ain't really know how deep it was until I started to go like to Empire. Then from Empire, it's like I met Tor, you know, when the reggae tunes came on, that's when I saw Gordon Bus. So I see how people grasped it to him. So then that's when I saw a tour bus. And it was like, oh, this is what this is? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right. So now I go back to the hood. So now this is something that I decided that I'm like, nah, I need to get into this. Cause now it's like you start to hear that going on. Now it start the hits on the radio station. Bobby Comics and Jabba, they start to lock in. So now it's like you start to hear more of the reggae culture start to spread out a little bit. Like you start to hear it more, start to get its own little lane. Because like I said before, you used to have to go on an off station or something like that to catch a reggae station or whatever the case may be, but it started to be popular.
Mhm.
So now I start to hear it more. So now it started to come into it went from on your um on your radio station to now they start to sell mixtapes and CDs of reggae music. You feel what I'm saying? So now that's when you got your Renaissance, your Fidel, you get all that going on. So it's like all that's picking up with your, with your regular, Walkmans and all that. That was a major thing too. But like I said, when I heard that, it was like, nah, I need to jump into it. So like I said, I'm still rolling around with Gordon. So, he's going back and forth across seas at the same time. So now, like I said, I'm rolling with him. This is like mid 96. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's going back and forth. But he been going back and forth since I knew him back in 94.
Mhm.
You feel what I'm saying?
And
So it's like,
where is he? Where's Gordon going?
he's going across seas. Like, he got a lot of family. Like his father, I forgot, I don't know if he's from St. Thomas. I forgot where he's from across over there, but I know like he was one of the first originators that I knew that used to go back and forth across seas, back and forth across seas. So he used to tell me that that's where a lot of his dances and all that he was learning, and at the same time, it's like that's what kept him more fresh. And then that's what the acknowledgement from the people, the yards and the Jamaican people and all that. That's what the acknowledgement that the people knew that I picked up early on by being around him. So it's like, oh, okay, so he go across seas, and at the same time, these are the dances that he come back, and at the same time, it's like he's showing these dances, but he's going back and forth at the same time. So he's telling me like, I learned some dances from here. This is from over there. So it's like, okay, so he's kind of keeping me in tune and like kind of like molding me into the culture. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So yeah.
So 96 Bruck Up is here. George Adams is on
Mid
the soil
mid
of Brooklyn.
mid 96. It wasn't
Besides that, like George didn't have a a Mr. Wiggles like rep in a sense where he was producing tapes. So if you wasn't aware of who Bruckup was when you would watch like Sting performances, where again dancehall is kicking up, all the new songs, they bring it the artist is aka the DJ is bringing dancers on the stage and Bruckup being one of them people. So if people wasn't really aware of these things when they watched Sting, like people weren't really aware of the rise of Bruckup and the
right.
community he come from in Jamaica that necessarily was shaping him to become who he is. By the time he hits the States, though, this dance that he would bring with him from Jamaica hits Brooklyn in a very crazy way. So where were you when you were come aware of this dance that George brought with him? Like, where were you and what was your mindset when you saw it? Like, oh, what the hell is that?
Like I said, 97. 97 was the major mark of it was here on Bedstuy, Flatbush. Like, as in, to be honest with you, I can't really speak for the Bush, but I
Yeah.
can speak as in the Four Corners, as in the style. Oh, it was major, but a lot of people wasn't doing it. It was just like a like what's that? So certain individuals only knew, as in, like I said, if you wasn't from the islands or XYZ, so it's like me and you walking down the street and we bust, but you see a Jamaican family there, they know what it is. But us as American people, we wouldn't know. It's like basically you're just following the trend and just learning a dance. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? So it's like other people already know what that is because they from the island. So it's like that's things that would me being around Gordon and stuff like that. Like, he first was doing the bogle and hitting all the John hype and all that other stuff, all the bogle dances and all that. You know what I'm saying? So the transition is like I could say when he came back from like night, like I said, I was with him from that time from 95 to 96, even from 94. But that 96 period, like that I could say when he came back in the fall of 96, it was something new. But at the same time, I was seeing he was also still learning. So it's like he ain't have the whole the whole you know what I'm saying, he had the whole material down, but he had it good enough to you to understand like, oh, this is a transition.
So
So
he
like
had the starter kit
he had
of
that starter kit. And
okay.
so it's
So
like
he had the
basically
starter kit with other forms of
right.
dancing that
That's
he
what I
was
was
doing.
saying. Yeah. So that's what made him more special. He it's like his material he had with the new material he was kicking up as in this new Bruck up new thing coming on.
Mm.
He also had his old, material that stand out. So it's like he always transitioned. Like I said, he always had this thing of like, he know how to be creative. So it's like when he was figuring out his way there with that new Bruck up in situation, that's when, what I'm saying, it kind of like gave me an in look, a input. But his first thing that when he first started off was like the heel toe was a major thing
Okay.
before the Bruck up. You feel what I'm saying? Like that was a major thing that really stood out, but it was still like a heel toe one on pop. You feel what
Mm.
I'm saying? So it was like before the build up and all that, the face structures and all that, it was just like a pop heel toe. So that was a major kick up that really stood up. And then, like I said, 97, that's what really set the tone that, that's what the Bruck up, the build up, the popping and all that craziness, like, that structure.
Because y'all end up seeing, if y'all didn't see him before, y'all would end up seeing him in the Busta Rhymes video or the Wyclef video, and y'all would necessarily get ideas on what to do from watching him at that point.
97. Exactly. 97. Because the fall of 97, that's when you saw that in every classroom, everybody blowing the face up and all that. That 97, Old Navy took off. You remember Old Navy was crazy. That was the year everybody had Old Navy. You would never forget that. Oh, that when they opened that up downtown Brooklyn. So at
Mm.
that time, the fleeces was crazy. Everybody used to, that was a major thing when, you know, when that first kicked off, it was like the heel toe. Then when they saw that look into my eyes could see, that was crazy. And then going to Empire, that's when like, you start to see more dances pop up. Beaker, um, Little Blood, you know what I'm saying? RP to Little Blood, you know what I'm saying? Like you start to see other dancers, you know what I'm saying? My dude Butter and my son, these people from Nostrand and Clifton and stuff like that. That was the people that I was really battling. Like when I started to get the new Tinsus and being around Gordon and it was these twins from dude named Jermaine. He was from McDonough and Marcy. It was him and his brother. They was crazy with it. So they was from the islands too. So it's like it wasn't everybody coming up on it. So it's like it was basically, but it was at every block to block radius, somebody knew how to do that dance. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
But they couldn't do it to a T, but they had some type of idea, especially when the Bruck Up video came out. When the Bruck Up video came out, I was like, okay, this is who it is. This is, the person that's the creator of this.
Right.
Then that's when you start to see the Sting cassette tapes. Because
So
once
now,
that yeah,
so now, I always say necessarily like the golden years, granted, will start 96, but as time moved forward, because everybody, in a sense, is playing with the starter kit. Everybody's necessarily
yeah,
doing their best to beat each other to the starter kit moves. I always said that from the time of like, based on my research, from 97 coming into 98, a lot of dancers and the genesis of Brooklyn from like yourself and many others will start to find their identity. People will start to necessarily start building their look like Brooklyn will start to innovate what this Bruck up thing would be on a whole nother scale. So
Right.
when did you start really finding your identity with this dance that will start to take you over? Because now, again, you found something that you really fell in love with, where it's just like, yo, I'm about to make my name with this. So what would you start adding to your Bruck up style to make your identity stand out going forward? Because now you running into people who
Right.
would necessarily get past the starter kit phase and start saying, yo, hey, the next time you see me, it might not be
I'm
a
still with the
scorpion. It
legend
might
though.
not be a one on pop. It
Yeah,
might be
that's
something
it.
else that's just going to make you be like,
But
oh, what the
but
hell is
everybody,
that?
but, but what's so crazy? Like it for a minute, like a lot of people were stuck there. Like when you saying everybody trying to find their identity, it's like everybody was stuck there, but everybody wanted to try to look like George Adam.
Right.
Everybody just wanted to look like him. So it just, like I said, even with Gordon and when I started to branch off him, like everybody still had that look. So it's like the more and more you start to dance around, but to be honest with you, when I really started to get my feet wet like that, it's like it went from just regular from my junior high school, 258. This dude named Keywan.
Mm.
Bezo was in there too at the same time. What I was telling you, so he was up on a starter kit too. So it's like kind of like me and Bezo was kind of like brusher partners and stuff like that off the strength, not off the strength, but we was all in the neighborhood. So it's like me, him, and Gordon. Then it's like more started to be me and Gordon, and then it's like I'll start to battle like other people. So if I happen to be going to a party on Marcy Avenue, I might run into them dudes over there on No Strength. So it's like that was Butter and my son Greg, my son Butter, uh my dude Brian. So these dudes, they was kind of getting their name up over there as in like trying to find they self at at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm running across them. I'm over there, getting my name up over there. Then I started to get my name up, dealing with dudes over there, like, Crown Heights area, stuff like that. But it was more like in that time it was tag teaming, like, but it was other guys that was nice too, like Milton, George, like, these guys, like George is from Herkimer. Milton, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I forgot what area he from, but Boys and Girls was a major structure as in, upcoming dancers. This dude named Rossi, I was telling you about, he around the corner from me. You know what I'm saying? So, a guy named Pop, he stay a block from me. So it's like it's a block radius is picking up. And my guy, Damian Tyson, these two guys, you know what I'm saying? Damian's from my block. Tyson, he from Sean block, you know what I'm saying? Pova. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying? So it's like everybody's from a block to block radius. But I really started to get my feet wet started from junior high school. And like I said, that was mid like 96, 97. You know what I'm saying? My first battle was so crazy. I think this is Ski cousin. His name is Kushan.
Okay.
He was the first dude I battled. You know what I'm saying? And actually, like, yeah, he was the first dude I battled. And my homegirl Shelly Ann, she used to always throw parties. This when I first started to come outside. Shelly Ann, she used to, man, this girl used to throw parties Friday and Saturday.
Mm.
Every weekend. So I ain't gonna front. Shout out to her too, because I was catching a lot of wins in it. And that was like the headquarters. Yeah, I was catching a lot of wins. Yeah, I mean, real talkers, all the dancers used to come to at that time, you ain't never really have young kids having parties back to back like that. So, that was a major thing too in the style. Like house parties was a major thing. So it's like
Oh
you
yeah,
had to know
especially in
about
that
them house
era.
parties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. 90s era, those house parties was jumping, backyard parties and all that.
Because my
So
sister and my people her age is like your age. So I remember as a youth going to them quote unquote bigger team parties when
yeah,
I'm like sitting there
yeah.
like, oh, this what
Those
it
was the
is?
clubs. Yeah, those was the clubs back then. Especially if you know where's gonna be on Monroe and No Street. Oh, we there. Like you already know who throwing it, you know who the DJ, all that. So it's like that was a major thing. Like when I started to go to Shelly Ann party, it was like, and then it's like the word get back, it wasn't no social media. It wasn't, oh, you put on the camera phone, none of that. The buzz got back from off the word of mouth. That was the major thing what I love about my culture. Like when we was busting, it wasn't like, as soon as you dance, as soon as you bust or you dance, they already got your footage up before you even, you know what I mean? Could broadcast yourself or speak on anything. So, Shelly Ann, she really got my name as in buzzing, as in taking people heads off, like from Monroe and Franklin, like from that all the way back to, I could say back to Stuyvesant. A lot of people knew in 258.
So her
And even
platform and throwing parties help establish your name more in your area.
oh yeah, yeah. And then at that time, that's when they it was between there and Restoration.
Mm.
Yeah, Restoration used to be on Marcy and Fulton. Everybody know about Restoration, but I
And
don't hear nobody
what's
talking
that?
about. Oh, Restoration is a center, like, it's a basically it's like a center, like a, they have businesses and stuff like that, but they used to have like this side room they used to always rent out. They used to have events and stuff like that. And a lot of things used to happen up in there. Like a lot of parties. A lot of parties. A lot of people, same thing what I was telling you, it went from basically from house parties, restoration, you know what I'm saying? And then after that, it was like they had a lot of events at Boys and Girls too.
Okay.
Boys and Girls underneath the high, yeah. Underneath the high, they used to have parties there. That's how I ran across Prince. Prince, Blue, Benny, you know what I mean? RP to Benny, you know what I'm saying? But
Or RP to
yeah,
Benny.
you know what I'm saying? So that's how I met, basically that's how I met Prince. You know what I'm saying? That's how, like, at that time I was getting around. But, besides that, like I said, it was this dude named Fushan. It was a dude in 258, that I used to go back. And then around my area, like, a lot of guys around my area, like 258, 8 ball area, a lot of dudes knew Gordon for being a top gunner. So, like I said, Gordon stayed right there on Halsey and Tompkins. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So it's like, the buzz get around to him, didn't get around to me. And, we just like, we fed off each other. So that's what made us brush up partners. Like people just knew if it was me, it was him. If it was him, it was me. Feel what I'm saying? But at the same time, he making his turf, I'm making my turf. You know what I mean? So I'm making my rounds. I'm running up the people high on junior high schools. 324. You know, shit, two 264. Like I'm running across junior high schools and all that, just get my name up. But Hancock and Troop is like one with my foundation of what really made me for what I was, as in
Okay.
those
So
bodies.
now you mentioned in a lot of dances that necessarily became very well known and revered, especially in these times where they went from block parties, house parties to stepping on like Flex in Brooklyn, where they were able to be captured and, pretty much cement them in history in regards to um, footage is concerned, content is concerned. It made their legacy more widespread. What was it like now running into these people like the Ski Bashments and the Princes that people speak highly of? What is your interaction with them when now you come across them and it's like, are you matching them style for style? What is the battles like taking place with them if they happened?
Well, at that time, like I said, like when this Bruck up in style picked up, it was like a disease or something like that. Like parties was going on every weekend. Like you could party, like for example, like my dude Damien and Tyson. Like when I used to, like at that time, it was like a perimeter. So I'm on Hancock Street, basically, like Gordon's pulling up, what I'm saying, at that time, Tyson, he's from Jefferson. So it's like if it's from Troop Avenue to Putnam Avenue, what I'm saying. If it ain't from Putnam Avenue, it's from Tompkins. If it ain't from Tompkins, it's from Marcus Garvey. So like I said, like your name just get known from just off your talent. So for example, like if you known in Marcus Garvey area, you might got a guy named Rike, because at that time Rike, he was known on Ralph's side. So it's like you might don't know these people and let you branch around. So how I ran across, if you want to say for Ski Bashment, what I'm saying? Basically, like I said, Damien, they cousins, they family. And same thing
Mm.
with Tyson. I was rolling with Tyson, which, he was rolling with, when he used to see me, basically, like, what I mean, he used to ask me, they was more in tune as in before I knew Ski. You know what I'm saying? Like Damian Tyson, they used to always ask me, what's going on, you know what I'm saying, what's the new dance and what's going on. And like I said, when I was running with Tyson, as in he used to take me to downtown to you know what I'm saying, what's that school downtown, man? Um I had on the tip of my head, man. Westinghouse. You know
Mm,
what I'm saying? Yeah. I used to do it like, yeah, Westinghouse was crazy. Between Westinghouse, Paul Robeson, Boys and Girls had a lot of dope parties. So it's like you start from house parties, then you hitting school parties.
right.
This is all picking up. So it's like you running into dances. So basically, like I said, I basically ran across Ski coming down Troop Avenue. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't know too much of them. A lot of people ran down. A lot of people walk up and down Troop Avenue. Like I said, Troop Avenue is a popular, avenue you walk across. So,
Right.
um, I used to see, Ski walking back and forth, back and forth. I ain't know too much of them. So one day, like I was saying, one day I happened to be in my crib and I see him at that time. Now, mind you, fashion is coming up. Fashion was always there, but Iceberg was like a major hit then. So, like I said, the same
Y'all
thing
era?
with,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So at that time, it's like, same thing with your dance. Like your fit had to match the style. So it's like
Mm.
this is before I even knew he was a dancer. So it's like, you know what I mean? I see him, he walking down Troop. Then later on that day, like I said, I was in my crib, and then I look, I'm like, yo, like that's the same dude. So, like I said, you couldn't walk through Bed-Stuy unless people got to see or know who you was, especially if you got stuff on that, you know, it was grimy back in those 90s. So, I look. So when he pulled up to Damien crib, and I see him, Damian Tyson, they sit up on a stoop or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? So, I happen to walk, I'm walking down the block, but I'm walking off my block to go back to Hancock Street. And Damian pulled me over, he pulled me over there. He was like, um, this my cousin, blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? He danced too. So, Tyson, like, yeah, so Tyson and Damian, they best friends. So he like, nah, he not a dance. So Tyson more like, put me in tune about ski. So at that time, skiing dance. Like it was just like a introduction, what's up, blah, blah, blah. So I happened to, go to Hancock, my regular stationary. That was the headquarters at that time. All dancers came there, all dancers.
Mm.
At that time, Hancock was hot. Everybody was pulling up the Hancock Street. It was legendary. So as time go by, um, I happened to run across, like I said, I ran across Ski again. He had the berg on, he flee and all that. Um, you know, so that's when Damien was asking me, like, yo, so now he telling me like he really know how to dance. So I really wasn't paying it no mind. Like, I didn't really care about that. I'm on go time. So he like, yo, so he asked Ski to bust. So Ski bust a little 1-2, nothing crazy. He just bust a little 1-2. That's when the both, said, the airwalk was popping off then
Okay.
with both feet. You know what I'm saying? So, the glider was everybody wasn't a glider. Like at that time, nobody was gliding then. Right? Brucka was it when I was picking up, everybody wasn't on gliding. It was just heel toeing inside, backwards heel toe. The socket heel toe was a major thing too.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? But that was later on. But you had to know the inside heel toe, the regular heel toe, side heel toe, all that going on. So when Ski busted the both, you know what I'm saying, both his feet with it, it was like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? So I got hype about it. I'm like, nah, that shit fire. You going crazy. So I kept it. See, back then too, it's like you can't jump out there like, you high horse and get your dreams shut down. That's the same thing what I was telling you about with the tour thing with Gordon and all that. I told you, tour was ahead of his time at that time. So it's like when you stepping out, you're going to different areas. It's like you'll get humble real quick. You know what I'm saying? Right there, like right there. It ain't no, oh, next week we're gonna battle. None of that. Right there, they do it a cappella. Like back then, they used to do a cappella. Like no music, no nothing. Like hit the side of the car. You hear dudes hitting the beat on the side of the gate. That hey,
Mm.
hey, hey, that's it. That's all you need. And people was going to work. But like I said, when I saw him bust, he didn't even get crazy. Just his feet work right there was just it was like all right, something crazy.
Mm.
So boom, I went back to Hancock. So regular. So like I said, one day Ski was coming down True. So it was a couple guys that was, chilling on Hancock. It was a couple of us, you know what I'm saying? It was deep. See, back, like I said, back then, a lot of dudes, they used to cross the street when they get to Hancock and True. So he walks. I know him. I call him, yo, Ski, da da da. At that time, I don't want to spit his gubby, but
You can
they was
say it.
calling
He
me
already
what?
he already did his interview and told the
Oh,
world.
all right. Well, they used to call him Roshan. So it's like that was his. See, Ski, that was later, but that Roshan name was more lethal than Ski. People was
Okay.
asking now. Roshan, when they heard Roshan, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I happened to tell a couple guys, I'm like, yo, son, get busy with the feet. Because like I said, at that time, everybody had the upper body, but people didn't work on their feet as much. So
Mm.
it's like when you see it from a tall person, it's like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? That shit is crazy. So anyway, like I said, he was walking. I called him in front of the Chinese restaurant. Albert was around. It was Albert Pova. You know, they was new beginners. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them too. You know what I'm saying? But
We'll get to
they
them.
was
We'll get to
they
them.
was
Big ups to them.
but like I said, but nah, they was part of that. Like they saw that though. Like they saw him hit the both his feet with the airwalk joint. So when they peeped that, it was like, yo, so now it came into like, yo, that shit fire. So when Ski used to pop up on the block, like people was like, yo, that's the dude that go crazy with the feet.
Right.
You feel me? Right. So, at that time he was just walking past. This is before I even knew that, what I'm saying, his brother, they had kids or whatever the case may be, his personal shit or whatever the case may be. But, they family. So it's like once I knew they was locked in, I'm like, oh, okay, like, and then when he told me like, yo, 'cause I thought he was from Crown Heights, which he was, but I didn't know he had family in the stock.
Hmm.
So he was like, yo, I got, he said, nah, my mom's and them, she stay right there on Lexington, Marcus Garvey. I'm like, what, you right here? So that's how kind of me and him locked in. But he still was
Mm.
like on the go. Like he was like back and forth, back and forth. But like, Sharif, shout out to Reef, you know what I'm saying? Like he from my side, he from Green and True.
Yeah,
So it's
big ups
like
to
him and
Reef.
Steve, yeah, him and Sharif, Sharif and Ski, they already had like that, the DJing structure, that was already in tune with, what Reef had going on. So
Mm.
that's how they connect. Yeah. So it's like basically and I used to go, and Reef, me and Sharif's sister used to go to school together. So it's like everybody connects as in, through a sister, through a cousin, through a brother. Like I said, through the style, you gotta be, your face gotta be good, and you gotta know who's who. You know what I mean? You can't just pull up, you know what I'm saying? But it's all love. Like people know each other. So that's how the connection, and that's how this person, that person. So Ski and Reef, they connected, and then like I said, that's how we all got in tune. But at the same time, we still was doing our own thing. But that's how like the communication and the relationship with me and Ski, we start to grow in that aspect. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Like, yeah.
So in recent times before the New Year had came in, I had spoke to Ski, and as you mentioned his feet work, he mentioned yours. So he said, oh, Mike, the person you could depend on to wear new sneakers, and when he dance and finish, they would never scuff, they were never out of place, they still look like they was fresh in the box. So what was it about your feet work that you spent a lot of time in, that you spent putting a lot of time into, that when you dance, like your peers even understood, like, hold on, like son over there, like his feet work.
I wanted to be different. Because at that time, like I said, when the styles, like, when everybody was getting into they pockets as in who they were, they was like when I say that's what made it a bloody bath in the style with the dancing, man. Like people don't know, like it was a lot of ending careers early. Like it was a battlefield, bro. Like there was people was getting sent home, like careers done. So for example, like even me, I had to fight in a couple lives, I got saved, like not saying saved, but it's like I was